So I didn't plan on making a documentary. I'm on holidays in Thailand. I'm traveling with my father. And as we were driving along, I saw an elephant chained by its ankles to a metal pole. And there were tourists standing around it, taking pictures, feeding it, touching it. And something that I almost naively thought didn't exist anymore, this exploitation of animals kept in very small cages, forced every day to perform for humans, still does exist, and it's very prevalent here in Thailand. And I think tourists just aren't aware of the impacts of these money-making schemes on the animal. And that's why I want to make this documentary. I think Thailand is one of the most beautiful countries I've ever visited. But what I witnessed behind the scenes of the elephant tourism industry shocked me in ways I wasn't prepared for. This contrast struck me the most. When you understand the nature of an elephant, watching this treatment becomes unbearable. So to understand the truth, we first need to understand them. Asian elephants are native to Southeast Asia. Living in herds of 6 to 7 related females, these gentle giants are nomadic and travel up to 20 kilometers in a single day. They're led by a matriarch, typically the oldest female in the group, who draws on decades of experience, memory, and knowledge to keep the herd safe. She guides them to water in times of drought and to food when resources are scarce. The family unit is incredibly important to these animals. Female calves stay with their mothers their whole lives, while males leave at around 15 years of age to live in solitary or join smaller groups of other males. Growing up surrounded by older elephants is critical to a calf's survival. It allows them to learn social cues and develop skills to deal with their environment. In fact, young elephants will spend 90% of their time within 5 meters of an older elephant, preferring close contact. Deeply intelligent, profoundly social, and emotionally aware, these animals are regarded as some of the smartest creatures on our planet. Their excellent memory allows them to remember the scent of every elephant they've ever met, with particular attention given to their family. And they've been known to remember and recognize humans for decades after encountering them. While they have big brains, they have even bigger hearts, however. They are deeply empathetic and emotionally intelligent creatures. They show compassion, comfort distressed herd members, and have been seen adopting orphaned calves. There are also documented cases of elephants helping injured or lost humans, offering them comfort or even intervening to protect them. Elephants, however, are known to grieve deeply for deceased family members. Years after death, elephants have been seen trekking hundreds of kilometers, returning to bones of dead relatives and gently stroking the remains with their trunks. Mothers have even been seen carrying their dead babies for days or even weeks after it has died, or nudging their bodies in an act of trying to revive them. This depth of feeling is a double-edged sword, and it means elephants are very susceptible to experiencing trauma and PTSD. Traumatic events, such as a baby witnessing their mother be poached or killed, significantly impacts them. And if a calf loses its mother before the age of 2, it often will not survive, with grief and distress considered the primary cause. Serious, trauma-induced symptoms occur in elephants who have been separated from their mothers, and researchers have observed that elephants who have experienced trauma may display symptoms similar to those seen in humans with PTSD, including being easily startled by noise and movement, being depressed and lethargic, being hyper-aggressive, and even having nightmares. In elephant orphanages, calves who have experienced trauma often wake up screaming and trumpeting in distress during the night. But there is hope. Elephants raised in safe and caring environments, surrounded by loving social companions, have been shown to recover. Their resilience, like their emotion, runs deep. Thailand is home to nearly 8,000 Asian elephants, but a staggering 4,000 of these live in captivity. Formerly employed in the logging industry, elephants were used to drag heavy logs where machinery couldn't reach. However, following a logging ban in 1989, Elephants and their handlers, known as Mahouts, were put into unemployment. This, combined with an influx of tourists in the 90s, gave rise to elephants as part of the tourism industry, which is still seen in Thailand today. New industries were founded, such as elephant trekking, elephant feeding, and elephant bathing. This brought with it a new, unprecedented, and never before seen demand for fastly trained and tamed elephants. For an elephant to be safe enough to have around humans, a level of obedience is required. And to achieve this with a wild animal, it can only be obtained through fear.
I think it's mostly the mental and physical abuse that you need to inflict to make the elephant obedient and make them engage in these activities. That's, I think, what causes most of the harm.
The following scenes contain descriptions and videos of graphic animal cruelty, which some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Obedience training for an elephant is a little bit different than for that of a dog. In Thailand, the procedure is known as pajan and translates to the crush, referencing the crushing of an elephant's spirit. Life of an elephant in captivity starts as a baby in the wild. Baby elephants are taken from their mothers, usually when they are between 2 and 4 years old. As mentioned, elephants grieve deeply, and family is extremely important to them. The mother will scream in distress for her baby. Once taken, the baby is tied up and deprived of food and water for weeks on end. They are hit with bullhooks. A bullhook is a wooden post with a nail attached at the end. When the spirit of the elephant is crushed, when it has no fight left in it, a mahout who wasn't involved in the punishing acts as a savior and gives it food and water to gain its trust. Any elephant old enough to be doing elephant trekking was likely taken from the wild this way in the 90s and 2000s. It is the memory of this fear and the punishment which keeps these elephants from misbehaving per se.
When they have given up all hope and their will is kind of crushed, that's when they then start training them. And elephants are very intelligent, so you can train them many things, many commands. And so, yeah, that's when they would train a baby elephant or all the elephants to do these kind of tricks, to kiss someone, to lift their trunk, but also more crazy stuff like riding a bicycle or painting. Yeah. Yeah, with the painting, it's also something that we explain in the video. It always looks like amazing, creative, intelligent animals, but when you look closely, there's always the handler standing right next to the elephant, often on the opposite side of where the tourists see the elephant, and then guiding them with a sharp tool, guiding them to actually make certain movements. Sometimes they have been trained, and the Mahout just stands next to them, so that the elephant knows, okay, if I don't obey, if I don't do this trick now, then I'll be punished.
Yeah. By using bullhooks to this day to intimidate them, the elephants are forced to continue performing for humans. Their very sensitive skin, meaning their use is felt deeply. While in Thailand, I witnessed the use of bullhooks for intimidation multiple times. We inquired about the use of them here.
What is this? Power elephant. Huh? Power elephant. Power? Yeah. What do you control. Control? Yeah. What do you want an elephant? Stick with elephant, yeah. Go! Hello. Control.
These bullhooks are not always used to constantly hit the elephants, but they're also a reminder of what happens if they don't obey.
Yeah.
So we are currently driving to an area where it is known that there are elephants working in these inadequate conditions. They're living right by the side of the road, very busy, noisy roads, and constantly surrounded by people taking pictures and feeding them. So hopefully we'll get a chance to interview some of the tourists that are partaking in these activities.
We happened to just come across this feed a baby elephant place. So we stopped there to ask some questions and to see what the vibe was. So we paid 100 baht to feed this baby elephant and take pictures of this baby elephant. I learned that the baby elephant had been separated from its mother. The mother was apparently still in the area, like paddock over, but baby elephants are supposed to be with their mothers their whole lives. Female elephants stay with their mothers their whole lives. And this baby was removed from it. It was only 2 years old, and it was on a very busy road. There was cars coming and going, like we were on the road. I just can't imagine how overwhelming it was for such a little creature. As I was feeding this little elephant, I was just asking questions. That was the idea. It started to kind of put its trunk around me, and I was like, I didn't really like that. I didn't know what was happening. The man told me that, oh, he's trying to hug you, he's trying to give you a kiss. I was like, all right, okay. He's like, oh yes, they're trained to give you a hug and a kiss. And this little elephant kept trying to put its trunk around me, hug me, kiss me. To make a wild animal want to hug and kiss, what methods are they employing to do that? You know, like no little baby animal, and tourists probably do think that, like, oh, it's so affectionate, it likes me so much. I'm thinking the baby animal wants to give you a hug and a kiss, but they're trained to do that. And I'm sure in very inadequate means and conditions they're kept in, you know. Anyways, we left that and we continued on the road, and we within genuinely 10 minutes came across another elephant feeding place. This is actually an elephant trekking place, and instantly what I noticed was all these animals were swaying. They had this like swaying motion, the head was rocking from side to side. This is a huge sign of depression in animals. This repeated, like, meaningless motion, it's how they cope with their living conditions, and it's often demonstrated in zoos. For example, Belfast Zoo actually had their elephants taken off them because of this demonstrated behaviour, which meant they were living in inadequate conditions, they were bored, they were depressed, and all of these elephants were swaying, all of them.
No?
Did you just do it?
We did.
Yes.
Was it good?
Awesome,
Was it nice?
An experience that we
just did
bought
that.
with them last year when we came. It's 6 years ago, and I've always wanted to ride them, and that was
We just did the 20-minute one, but it was lovely.
20 minutes.
I'm always about like the ethics of these places. Like, you think they seem like happy?
No, they were fun. Honestly,
Yeah.
um,
The,
And they look healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right. I mean, yes, they get trained at night, like you said to me, but it's like putting a dog in a cage, or your cat in a cage, or whatever. But you know, you've got to keep them safe. But they look healthy. I'd go.
I was actually shaking when the woman was talking to me. She said to me, oh, they seem happy enough. Of course, they're chained up at night. That's what the man told us. That's what she was saying to me. But it's like keeping a dog in a cage. And I was shocked to hear this. And I think it just encapsulates completely the mindset of tourists here, of tourists anywhere, you know. Keeping a wild elephant captive at night, chained up at night, chained up all day, every day, is nowhere on the scale of keeping a dog in a cage at night. Nowhere. There's no comparison. Elephants have issues with thermoregulation, that is, keeping themselves cool, and in the wild they will spend the majority of their time in shaded areas. By being chained, they are unable to move to adequately shaded areas, and elephant riding camps keep these elephants chained up under the hot sun for hours on end every day. In addition to this, when they are unchained, it is only to provide rides for tourists. While they are the largest mammals on Earth, the majority of their strength comes from their trunk, a huge muscle which they use for lifting and grabbing vegetation as well as breathing and drinking. The backbone of the elephant is neither evolved nor adapted to carrying the weight that they do for hours. We also know that they are social animals with families and that they feel pain and sorrow, yet in these trekking camps they are often not engaging with other elephants and spend their lives largely in solitary. It is a miserable life for them, a life of hell. Not only do they work for hours on end every day, this continues for years and years, with elephants at these camps working well into their 60s. And it all begins as a baby with the crush, as only an abused and defeated elephant would let tourists ride it for money.
I just think this blatant ignorance. People don't want to see their impacts on the animals. They want the photo, don't they? Everyone wants a photo with a baby elephant, so cute. But they don't want to think about what that animal has actually endured for their photo. It made my heart so heavy. All day I just felt this deep sadness for the animals here. I think it's an abysmal situation. I just think, like, I don't see how people could go there and take pictures with an animal that's kept in a paddock for 10 hours a day. And probably at night too. I don't know. I haven't seen the animals at night. Probably they're in the exact same paddock, but 10 hours a day, they're just kept there, fed over and over again, pictures over and over again, kisses, hugs, forced to give kisses and hugs. I just think it's really, really sad, to be honest.
You know, you look at these Pinterest photos and they look so aesthetic, and I'm sure it's very tempting to want to recreate this in Thailand. These nature lovers, and it almost looks like they have a bond with the elephant. But the reality is, no matter how much the elephant looks like it's enjoying it, it's been tortured in order to act this way. That's why I love the quote, "Any elephant you can get close enough to touch has been subjected to horrific abuse." These are wild animals. No wild animal would allow humans this close every hour of the day on its own accord. In addition to elephant trekking and feeding, another popular tourist activity is elephant bathing. While in Thailand, I met with Vincent Gerard, manager of Phuket Elephant Sanctuary, an ethical approach to elephant tourism that promotes observation and minimal contact with elephants.
You know, in northern Thailand, they did like bathing with elephants. This was often promoted as the next ethical thing to do, right? So big campaigns, no riding, only bathing. It was promoted like you would take care of the elephant, helping them to take a bath, helping to shower them, helping to cover them in mud.
While elephant bathing is often marketed as being ethical and as caring for elephants, the reality could not be further from this.
What we see in Phuket, there's a lot of places where they build like artificial pools. They allow up to 30, 40 people in the high season, even more, crowd around the elephants. It's more of almost like a party vibe than a peaceful setting. As much fun as it is to be in the water with an elephant, to shower with them, to play with them in the mud, it's not really in the best interest of the elephants. First of all, it's not really aligned with their natural behaviors to be, in the water for more than 5 to 10 minutes. They do like the water. They like to cover themselves in mud, but they don't do it all the time, and they certainly don't enjoy it when there's 20, 30 people crowding around them, making noise. The Mahouts will often control them so that they don't move too suddenly, don't cause any accidents or problems, which have happened in the past. Just earlier this year, a Spanish student lost her life while bathing with an elephant, so it can actually be quite dangerous.
However, many of the parks in Phuket claim to be ethical, yet still allow bathing. One even claimed to be an elephant retirement home, and yet still allowed this close contact. This led me to look into what actually constitutes as ethical in Thailand.
What sort of regulations does the Thai government? They don't enforce anything to say.
There's no regulation. The word sanctuary is not no restrictions as to who can call themselves a sanctuary. Some places have been accredited or endorsed by, let's say, World Animal Protection or there's this new standard called Asian Captive Elephant Standards, ACES. But from the government side, there's some animal protection laws, but they're not very strictly enforced. So basically, everyone can call themselves a sanctuary. Many years ago, there was even riding camps that called themselves a sanctuary. Now, I think they realize they can't get away with that anymore. But I think in Thailand, out of the 40 plus camps. Now the vast majority are so-called sanctuaries. Some do good work, I think. Really strong focus on education and observation, but others still offer more interaction, what we would recommend.
The term is used very loosely, and it seems that it's more like a marketing tag rather than a reflection of the actual practices that they're doing there. And I think most of them just tag it on the end of their businesses for more tourists, you know, and they can actually charge a heftier price because of it. So just as I'm editing, I kind of looked further and further into these so-called ethical sanctuaries, and I came across one which markets itself as the most ethical sanctuary in Phuket, and it does not even meet TripAdvisor animal welfare guidelines. So as we see here, it does not meet animal welfare guidelines, and TripAdvisor does not provide bookings for this experience because of it. I think it's just so deceptive to market yourself as ethical and as offering a retirement for these animals who have worked their whole lives anyways. It's just so deceptive to people who already can't distinguish what is ethical and what is not ethical, you know. Out of 3,000 elephants they assessed, 200 were living in adequate conditions, and the 200 that were living in adequate conditions were ones where there was no direct contact with humans, no feeding, no bathing, no trekking. These were the only elephant tourist sanctuaries that actually kept these animals in good condition. While Phuket Elephant Sanctuary currently allows you to feed their elephants, albeit from a distance, they are removing this interaction completely from their program at the beginning of next year.
I'm sure we will lose some visitors, but we've also had a lot of reactions of people who said, "Oh, actually, I was considering to visit you, 3 years ago. But when I saw that you still feed the elephants, I decided against it." So there's some people who really, I think, support this approach, and
I think as public awareness builds around the ethics of elephant tourism here, that approach will become more important to people as well.
Right.
Sanctuaries like Phuket Elephant Sanctuary are the best compromise for these rescued elephants. These elephants have spent their whole lives in captivity working. They simply wouldn't survive if released back into the wild. True ethical sanctuaries that do not allow contact with the animals allow the elephants to live out the rest of their lives in peace after a hard, long life of work. At PES, the elephants can roam where they please. They also receive medical treatment and can interact with whichever elephants they want. Some of the elephants here have even formed inseparable friendships, demonstrating their social and sweet nature.
It's now the first hospital in Phuket. The one in Krabi, where she used to work, was the nearest one up until we opened this place. So we hope that also other camps will take us up on our offer to provide free medical care here, basic medical care, in case they have injured elephants or tired elephants that need a bit of rest and recovery. They can come here free of charge.
It can be difficult to distinguish between what is ethical and what is harmful, particularly when it comes to choosing which sanctuaries to support. The key is to stop and ask, does this interaction truly serve the animal's needs? Elephants don't need our help to bathe or to find food. So when they're forced to comply with these activities for tourists, we have to ask, who is it that's really benefiting?
Hard to tell, especially for tourists, I think. Also the fact, no one would ask the question, are these elephants actually owned by the place or just rented? It's not the question that really comes to mind, right?
Is that a common thing that elephants can be rented and traded around places?
I can say that more than 90% of the camps, including sanctuaries, they rent the elephants on a monthly, on a yearly basis, I don't know. But most of them are not owned by the place. There's only a few like us that actually buy the elephants and that I would say seem more committed to a long-term
welfare.
Of the elephants. I also can appreciate that not every place, especially if you're starting a sanctuary with the best intentions, not everyone might have the means to immediately buy the elephants, but maybe a sanctuary that has been established for a few years, I would expect them to own at least some of the elephants or be committed to buying as many as possible. Do they have proper veterinary care? Again, not everyone might be able to build a hospital or to employ a full-time veterinarian, but you can ask them if they, have regular medical checkups, if they have vets visiting, how they handle, emergencies or veterinary care for the elephants. Look at the interaction that is offered. If it's like really extensive interaction, it's probably not in the best interest. If they have like 1 or 2 bathing sessions a day that are quite short, maybe 15-20 minutes, that's a bit more aligned with their natural behaviors. But if they offer like 4 or 5 bathing sessions a day, like 45 minutes, 1 hour, bathing, showering the elephants, that's probably also not in their best interest. And then also try to find out how do the elephants live at nighttime. Do they have enclosures where they can roam around? Or are they confined to very small places? Those are the questions that I would ask or try to research before deciding which place to visit.
Vincent also told me the industry changes to accommodate what tourists want, and there is a new drive for ethical tourism. At the end of the day, these elephant industries are there to make money, and it is the unaware tourist who continues to fund them.
They don't even look at the elephants, never mind thinking about the conditions and the fact that the way they are raised and they are trained, and the fact that the baby is taken away from the mother at a very young age. And people
Didn't even
don't
see the elephant.
And I've done the same, in fairness. In 2002, I've done the same 23 years ago. I wouldn't even think that was something unacceptable for the animals. So we cannot actually blame the people for funding this industry. We have to raise awareness and make them think and realize that this industry is unethical and it's not actually good for the animals.